individual contributor and team growth. Again, kind of going off that like the 5-minute journal concept, like self-assessment's so much easier to help me kind of pinpoint what I need to help you with, but also where I need to really like concentrate on helping you. I think that anyone that has like a self-realization, that has an understanding of themselves, is something that I really look for in any candidate that I talk to. Kind of historically, so before ImParticle, I was at a company called Celtra. At Celtra, I was like employee 8, I think, and then we grew to about 160, and I ran a team of 15. Everyone that I hired, I knew I was going to hire within the first 5 minutes of talking. And it's because of the way that they presented themselves. There was one guy, Kyle Madden, the way he picked up the phone when I was in Ljubljana, and it was maybe 10 o'clock in Ljubljana, 6 o'clock or something here, I immediately knew I was going to hire him. And it's just because of the self-realization that he had in himself. And as the conversation continued, I was like, I knew I would hire him. But it's important for me to know that, because as you know more about yourself, it helps me understand, okay, he's not hiding something from me. And that really is, I think, one of the biggest challenges when we deal with people, is that people are going to be weird. It's just like the most natural thing about being human. And so,
Present company excluded.
I'm super weird. Don't include me in there. But as you think about kind of that piece of like the team growth, being able to understand personality, because that's really what brings teams together. Not everyone's the same. Not everyone has to like each other. I don't push that. Everyone has to be able to work together and respect each other. And being able to understand a personality and how to work with that personality becomes extremely important. And I think that knowing those nuances in between different people allows me as a manager, as somebody that needs to shepherd people, allows me to do that with greater ease than trying to uncover like what you actually meant versus what you actually said.
Well said. I don't know if I'll be as articulate as you, but so I think for me it comes down to 4 things. I look at when I'm interviewing somebody or when I'm looking at somebody to move into the next level of a more of a strategic SC or a team lead role, it comes down to a couple things. First is, you heard me say this earlier, the critical thinking skills. I can't teach that. You don't have an innate curiosity, you don't have a desire to understand more, like not taking something at first value. I can't help you with this. I can't tell you, ask another question, or hey, by the way, that's a red flag, dig into it more. I can't teach that critical thinking. So the first is the critical thinking and kind of the curiosity mindset. I think the second for my role specifically for my team is empathy. This job is weird, like it's hard and it's weird, and you have to have empathy for your peers, you have to have empathy for the customer, because we're all in tech because we're trying to fix whatever that particular problem is that either the customer knows about or they don't know about yet. And having some empathy for who they are and the position that they're in, as well as your internal peer set, it goes a long way, because it allows patience to flourish, and nothing is worse than being at a tech company and being impatient. Impatience can be driven and pointed in the right direction, but honestly, it can lead to burnout. So, how do you find an empathic person and put them in this career? I think the second one, or the third one, excuse me, is integrity. In my company, and specifically with my sales VP peer, he and I say the same thing every day. We own the technical sale. When I say we own the technical sale, it means I'm going to sell you something that works. I'm not going to sell you futures. I'm not going to sell you vaporware. So how do I take somebody who has that innate integrity, because that's going to be needed on a day-to-day basis. You're going to have AEs, you're going to have reps who be like, it's fine, let's push the envelope a little bit. You're going to have devs who be like, it's okay, we can do it, we can deliver it, but at the end of the day, is it in the best interest of the customer? So I think those 3 things, and then the last is grit. We're in tech, we're in a high, fast-paced world. You have to be entrepreneurial in this role. You heard me say earlier, it's a weird job. You have to be able to figure out how to get through this. So do you have that innate sort of grit quality in what you do on a daily basis?
These are both tough acts to follow. I want to repeat a couple of things that I heard, which are just things that I stress. The first is that intellectual curiosity. I think it's absolutely critical. The second is that integrity piece, also very critical. Especially in a company like Braze, we're not in a position to sell the world. We don't. We're very clear about that from the front. So if we're talking to a prospective customer and they want to buy the world, we talk to partners like Imparticle and others to try and make it happen, but ultimately, very candid conversation. And if you're not honest about that, it comes through immediately when you're talking to people who are doing that, trying to buy your product. So for my Cs, I look for all of that. I look for that skill set, and I look for them to highlight. And I see my role as a team lead, as a director, to open doors in whatever direction these folks want to go. Right. So there's I have an incredibly talented group of people here and across the world who are all very smart, very driven, very motivated, and very ambitious in what they want. And so I see it as a foundational, building up some of those skill sets and really understanding, what they need to do on a day-to-day basis, but also, what do you want that next step to be, or those next 2 steps to be, and how can I help to facilitate that in a high-growth environment like Braze? And so, from a team growth, that kind of dovetails into the team growth perspective, where I'm looking at, if I'm going to make an additional hire, I want to net new, add somebody to a team somewhere in the world, right? What are the skill sets I'm looking, and beyond all the soft skills, but what are the hard skill sets I'm looking to try and balance the capabilities of that team so that they can act as a team and actually cohesively sell to the market, which can be very challenging at times.
So these guys stole pretty much all my thunder. Thank you, but I would agree with all of it. The only thing I would add is excuse me, what Andy said here. In terms of team growth, when I'm looking to fill spots on a team, I'm generally looking to fill a need that's going to be obviously, geographic and all of that, but I'm also trying to look at filling a need to balance the team, right? If there's a certain candidate that can give my team a different look, a different edge that would give us an advantage, that's very desirable, right, in terms of team growth. And someone that can come right in as a player that immediately improves the team and makes all the other players better. We've heard that analogy in sports like a million times, but it's even true in sales and in the world of SEs, right? You bring in somebody like that, everybody gets excited. It'll start usually in the interview process, and everybody starts feeling really good. One of the things I do in my interview process is I always have a presentation phase, because a technical interview is never enough. In my opinion, they can have a great day, they can have a bad day. It's not always something that would eliminate somebody from a process, but being able to see how somebody presents, having the team really get to know the person, meet them, take them out in the roles that we hire for, relationship building with customers is a really desirable attribute to have. And some of those qualities in that individual contributor are going to be likability, which generally means they're trustworthy, right? They have to, generally people are going to buy from who they trust and who they like. They're going to have patience. Customers, my customers are financial services customers. They'll test your patience for sure. And then I think a word I heard, grit, I tend to call that battle factor or persistence, right? They will have to fight through, just a lot of stuff to get to that technical win. And so yeah, those I would say are all qualities I would really look for.
Thank you. What are your SE's KPIs and how often is your team assessed?